What's going on, guys? My name is Arrow, and in today's video we are yet again using a movement skill for damage. Let's go. As many of you know, I love using things that shouldn't be main skills as skills. I've played a number of movement skills to do all sorts of different types of damage, but I've never used shield charge as my main skill. So this league, I wanted to mess around with the new Crucible trees, and one of them saw, before the league even came out, that shield charge gains additional attack speed for every 10 rampage kills that you have. When you choose a map up, you can get a lot of monsters in there. You can be at 1,000 stacks for a long time. When you're at 1,000 stacks, that is 200% increased attack speed for shield charge. So I thought, well, I've got to use it. The core of this build is going fast. This is a mapper. It is not a bosser. So if you're looking to play a bosser, don't play this build. And to be honest, if you're looking to play a mapper, I don't know that I would recommend this build, simply based on how much it costs to get to the level of power that it has. There are a ton of great builds out there, and this one was a blast. I had a lot of fun. I farmed a lot of maps with it, did a lot of content. But ultimately, I don't know that this is good enough for me to say you should play this build. So this will be more of a build showcase. I'm still going to talk about everything that I did, all the gems, things like that. But I want you to know this is more about me sharing what I've made than telling you to go play this build. Okay, here we have level 93 Charles in shield charge. This is a Chieftain. We are fully converting to fire damage, and we have several sources of explode. As you saw in the footage, this build explodes the whole screen. It's super satisfying, and you don't have to aim anywhere. You just kind of shield charge in a direction, and everything you hit along the way gets blown up. So believe it or not, this build is pretty tanky. We accidentally get over 3,000 energy shield, mostly coming from the Emperor's Vigilance, which ours has about 700. You can get this number up to over 1,000 with a proper Crucible tree. I did not want to invest that much. I got in this Emperor's Vigilance train pretty early before a lot of people were buying up these shields, and I paid 5 divines, I think, for my effectively completed tree. What makes it difficult to get is shield charge and chain hook have 2% increased attack speed per 10 rampage. I needed to have this as the 5th mod, so I had to settle for some less than perfect mods in order to get there. 28 max ES, and then we've got 25% increased armor and energy shield. We have elusive on low life, which is actually pretty nifty. It's not amazing, but when you do take a huge hit, it will give you a little bit of boost of move speed and a boost of avoiding hits. A little bit of area of effect here. So again, this is not a boss killer. Don't try to kill bosses with this. It's not fun. Basically, stand there and do this over and over again. While you're mapping, it's very easy to kill some of those tankier bosses because you have so much attack speed that just hitting with your shield charge does a ton of damage. So the thing about the Emperor's Vigilance shield is that damage taken from unblocked hits will always bypass your energy. And we have 3,200. So we'd like to make use of that as much as we can. So what I did was I invested into spell block. Now, in order to get to max, you only need like 37 or so spell block because this shield also gives you glancing blows. So we have a 21 roll on the shield, which is then turned to 42. And then we have 10% chance to block spell damage on the chest. This is a June mod. So we are already at 62% chance to block right there, and then we get, I believe, the rest on the tree. So we're at 75 block and 72 spell block, which is quite nice. We are rocking boots that give us full shock immunity and a storm shroud. So we have full ailment immunity, max block. We have a little bit of max res here, some funky stuff going on. You'll see that my lightning res is not capped, and I have 185 fire res. I messed up with a gear swap towards the end and didn't feel like trying to fix a lightning res. We just ran with 74 for a little while instead of 77. Not a big deal, but obviously we are well within capping range because I have this much fire res. And when we have our endurance charges up, we are well over cap at all times because we have 6. We have about 30,000 armor, which actually feels quite nice. Even though we are wearing the Abyssus, every once in a while we'll take like a big fizz crit and you'll feel it, especially if you don't block it. Then we have about 4,600 life to deal with that damage. But even if you take a huge fizz crit, if you block it with glancing blows, it's barely going to touch your life in ES, even with the Abyssus helmet. So Every once in a while, you do take a couple of hits, and this, this character's not immortal, but it felt very, very good to map with. The only time I ever died is when all of my Rampage stacks dropped off, and I was fighting like a Crucible monster that was really strong, which is one of the main reasons I wouldn't recommend this build, because you have to stand still and charge for 9 seconds to fight the Crucible, which means you guarantee lose all of your charges. So what I was doing is I would go up to it, I would charge it all the way to full, and then I'd just leave, kill some monsters, and come back and kill everything, which actually wasn't that big of a deal because we move so fast. It takes a second to cross half the map. So not too big of a deal, but ultimately was a little bit annoying. We've got the Darkseer. I don't have a tree on this because Scepters just don't have a lot for our build in particular. They have a lot of local weapon mods, which don't help our shield, and they have a lot of spell stuff, which doesn't help our build at all. So I decided to go for an AoE and power charge on crit, double implicit. This was 10C, and gives you power charges and more AoE. So it was very nice. I feel like I'm one of the only people intentionally choosing not to have a tree on their weapon, despite the fact that I have been running the mechanic. We use the Abyssus with Determination, mana reservation efficiency. This just helps us get more auras in, and obviously a massive amount of damage. Another amulet that I try to use at least once every league that I absolutely love, super, super underrated, is the Eternal Struggle. If the Searing Exarch is dominant, which is what I always go with, you get a 15% cull on hit. Feels so, so good. Tons of stats, tons of global defenses, and then you get 2 interesting mods on the implicits. We got 5% spell block, which gives us 10 because of glancing blows, and then some AoE. So I think I paid like 10C for this. So you can really do some cool stuff with the Eternal Struggle. I always recommend, if you're putting a build together, go take a look at the possible implicits and see maybe what it costs for your build. For the rings, we decided to go with a Circle of Anguish for some damage and some buff effect. And over here, this is just a ring solving a bunch of resist issues. Got some life. I actually crafted this myself with 1 Reforged Chaos and Harvest. Hit tier 1 Chaos, tier 2 Fire, tier 6 Cold, and tier 2 LE damage with attacks. This is nuts. This is a nuts ring. So looking forward to selling it at some point. Boots we talked about, just shock avoidance, some move speed, and some res. Very important, you have to have Rampage in the build. So Bisco's Leech gives us Rampage, and then a bunch of rarity, which is nice to have. For our gloves, this is the beginning of our explode system that we have. In my opinion, the best way to get true quality explodes that chain in this game are using a physical spell or attack that uses Ascendancy's Gentle Touch, which explodes enemies for fizz. Combining that with a physical explode chest and Herald of Ash. Those 3 things together prolifts explodes as far as your AoE will take it. So you obviously have to scale AoE as well, which we didn't get that much of in this build, and we still had pretty good clear, but you can always go for more. So we use the Ascendancy's Touch mostly just for the explode, and then you can get whatever you want on implicits. And then lastly, the chest. For the chest, this is nuts. I crafted this on stream. We had a blast putting this together. Got pretty lucky. I awakened together a elevated explode with a hunter additional curse. We had an open prefix. I was able to hit some pretty good suffixes, and I was able to get a spell damage affix here. It would be very difficult to recreate this chest. It's pretty awesome. Go over the gems. We have Determination, Blood Rage, for Frenzy Generation, and attack speed. Infernal Cry helps with the explodes as well. I don't know how much it's actually doing, but I have it on there because why not? In the helmet, we go Ancestral War Chief, Ancestral Protector, multiple totems and combustion. This just gives us nice damage boosts on bosses. Herald of Ash, Blood and Sand, and Frostblink here in Shield. Herald of Ash helps our explodes. Blood and Sand allows us to go from either Sand stance for more AoE or Blood stance for more damage. 6 link in the chest, we have Divergent Shield Charge. This gives us more damage with hits at maximum charge distance. When you're flying around the map, you're almost always going to be at max charge distance if you are intentionally charging way out in front of you, which means everything you hit is going to be dead. It's a nice little boost to our damage. We have Awaken Added Fire, elemental damage with attacks, Awaken Fire Pen, Inspiration, and Energy Leech. The reason we go for Energy Leech here is because That's the only real recovery we have besides recharge for our ES. And even though we don't take tons of hits on this build because it's explode and most things die before they can hit us, we always are probably going to be leeching some amount of ES, which is a nice little multiplier for us. And it's a way to get recovery easily. In the gloves, we have a Frost Bomb, a Void Sphere, Flammability, and Arcanist Brand. All these things are cast automatically when put down the Arcanist Brand. Got Precision, Immortal Call. Go through the flasks real quick. We have an armor with movement speed here. This is an Amethyst flask that I intended to have someone craft regen onto and then just never did. So it doesn't have a suffix at the moment. I didn't use it for very long like this, but I was supposed to craft on it. Then Onslaught and Attack Speed, again, just going faster. That was the goal of the build. Move speed here, and then crit and effect of curses. So we are a Chieftain for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to play a Chieftain. Number two, it's just got some really nice ways to scale this build. So Hinakora's Death Fury, it gives us Leech. It also gives us Covered in Ash for enemies. Increased Strength, all good things for us. We convert half of our Fizz to Fire with Namahu Flames Advance. And then a huge multiplier. Namahu's is like double damage for us. When it's up, which is 4 out of every 10 seconds, you happen to be fighting a boss while you have this up, they're going to die really quickly. And if it's down, they're going to die a little slower. Valako Storm's Embrace is more quality of life, gives us a bunch of regen, gives us more damage if we've lost an endurance charge in the past 8 seconds. We have Immortal Call on cast when damage taken on a really low level. So that goes off pretty often, pretty much anytime we take a hit. So we're always losing endurance charges, so we always have that more multiplier. We also always have max endurance charges because we are war crying on left click, which means they're always generating. Lastly, Tesalio Cleansing Water gives us 100 fire res, which is a ton. Fizz from hits taken as fire, always nice to have Fizz taken as, and then increased recovery rate. And Ignite immunity, quality of life. The tree is basically as many shield nodes as we could fit in, and we got some crit stuff. Things that are really valuable for a build like this is defenses with the shield. Let me just refund this. We have 3251. When we take that off, we lose almost 300 ES, and then also probably a couple thousand armor. These are in a few places on the tree. This is 60% here. This is 40%. I think there's some over here. Yeah, 30% here. There's a few places where you can get defenses, another 60% on retaliation, to take this Emperor's Vigilance and really take it to the max. So this is something that you can use, not necessarily on this build, but any build that's using one of the new crazy shields that exist this league. Go get increased defenses from your shield on the tree. Another interesting place to get it is Veteran Defender. All attributes, all res, and 60% defense. This is like a must-have if you're using Emperor's Vigilance. Then we use Field of Fight and Martial Prowess. Get some AoE from our medium clusters here. I took the Fortify wheel because I didn't really know what to do with the points. I had them in some other defense. I had it in Soul of Steel for a while. This is so much more value. Fortify Mastery gives you melee hits fortify, but -3 to max. But then these all give you additional, which means you have 23 max fortify and all your hits fortify, which means this build is always going to be at max fortify, 23. Get a little bit of life regen from notable here. And even though this is 5 points, this is a ton of value if you don't want to use fortify in your main. Things that are super valuable as well, the shield masteries. Number 1, attack damage per armor. We have a ton of armor on our shield. Go get this. And then multi per 10 energy shield on the shield. If 700, go get this as well. We are using the Brutal Restraint with SEMA to get Second Sight, where it says you're blind. You get 25% more critical strike while blind. So that means we need to find a way to not be affected by blind, but still be able to be blinded. That is why we use the Dark Seer. Enemies blinded by you have Malediction, 10% chance to blind on hit, and unaffected blind. That means this node right here is just 25% more melee critical strike. Super, super strong. The Dark Seer is a bad item as a main weapon, but if you are using a shield, the Dark Seer may be the best in slot. It's also giving us 90 flat ES and 90 flat life, which nothing to complain about there, and then global damage. If you were to play a build like this, I would actually recommend to go get some energy shield, some evasion. We have no evasion, which means blind doesn't really do anything for us. Enemies being blinded is very, very strong when you have a small amount of evasion. It's a little boost to that, but you can't really boost 0. So that's really it from me on this build. This was a lot of fun. I ultimately don't recommend that you play it, at least as is. You can get more damage, you can get a better shield, but there are definitely better builds for the amount of divines that I spent on this. Probably like 30 or so. But if you are looking to play a shield charge build, this one was a ton of fun. It was pretty tanky, and definitely hit the spot of playing with a movement skill for my main damage, which, you know, I can't help but do every league. So that's going to be it from me. I want to thank everybody for all the support. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me, you can like this video, comment down below, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to support me financially, go check out my Patreon. It's in the description below. Otherwise, I will see you over on my Twitch, twitch.tv/AER0___. We've got a lot of things cooking over there, some really, really fun builds, and some ones that I absolutely recommend that you do play. So thank you for watching, and as always, take care.